So, beginning by noticing the blank page in front of you, perhaps you might notice any physical sensations, any thoughts, emotions, or moods that may come up in response to the blank page. And to begin with, I invite you to simply notice what it's like to be in front of the page, the empty page. Perhaps you might experience a sense of nervousness or eagerness. And whatever the case may be, seeing if you can allow your experience to be whatever it is now, knowing that you don't have to have something in mind already, and perhaps you do something in mind to draw an image or a vision of something you would like to create, and seeing if you can return your awareness to the page, even though you might have ideas or perhaps an expectation of what will happen next. And then beginning by grabbing whatever you feel called to use. It might be multiple media. I'll be using oil pastels, pens, and crayons, but let's see what happens. And now allowing yourself to connect with your medium in your hand, perhaps feeling it in your hand first, rotating it. You might look at it and notice what you see on it. And now allowing yourself to be guided by your hand, your intuitive movement. And perhaps you might notice thoughts about it should be a certain way, or it should look a certain way, or it needs to be perfect. And if that's the case, knowing that that's a thought, seeing it as a thought, and then perhaps seeing if you can return your attention on the paper and the color and texture and the feeling of your hand on the page. And my invitation for you is to be as free as you can be at this time, knowing that there is no such thing as perfection, and that the more imperfect it is, the better. The more flawed it is, the better. Perhaps noticing any sounds. You might experience the sounds as pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. And seeing if there are any patterns or gestures that feel pleasant in your body. And if you feel like repeating certain patterns, allowing yourself to do so. And whenever your mind wanders off to different thoughts and you get carried away from what you're doing, or perhaps you feel stuck, seeing if you can bring your awareness back to either your body or your breath or the feeling of the crayon on the paper. If you tend to be small in your drawings, perhaps exploring what it might be like to do something bigger. Or if you tend to press into the paper quite a bit, seeing what happens when you have a lighter touch. And seeing if you can bring a sense of curiosity to your experience, to whatever you're doing. Allowing yourself to experiment and explore. And whenever something feels good, see if you can follow that. And if you have an expectation of having things figured out, then seeing if you can acknowledge that expectation and somehow loosen your grip on it and returning your awareness to whatever you're doing now. Knowing that thoughts will come and go, and some will linger on for a while longer, while others will be quick to move through the landscape of your mind. And whenever judging thoughts come about, as they naturally will, about what you're doing or what you're not doing, or thoughts about, well, you're not an artist, or you're not a painter, and seeing if there are any physical sensations connected to that criticism, any physical responses you have to that, perhaps tension or tightness in your body, and seeing if you can become aware of that as being a resistance to what you're doing and not the truth of who you are and what you're capable of doing. And remembering that what's important, what is most important, is the process and your moment-to-moment experience of what you're doing. And perhaps now seeing if by expanding your awareness to the whole page, what it's like for you. And then perhaps narrowing your attention back to a part of the page, a specific detail, without judging it, but seeing it the way it is now. And if you find yourself not knowing what to do, seeing if you can let yourself do something bold. Something you wouldn't normally allow yourself to do on the page. Knowing that there are no rules. None at all. And perhaps adjusting your position to a more comfortable one, if that feels right for you. Remembering that there is no such thing as getting it right or wrong. Noticing perhaps what colors you're drawn to, bright colors, light colors, darker ones. Knowing that there's no time limit, that you can give yourself as much time as you would like, as you feel is right for you. Reminding yourself that you don't need to know how to draw. and that it's about the process and your experience right now more than anything else. And if any judgments arise about this is silly or this is crazy or I'm never going to be able to do this right or the way I want to, see if you can return your experience back to what you're doing, the feeling of the hand on the page or holding the crayon or the pencil, letting the thoughts pass by. And if any thoughts pop up about, oh, I should be doing something else, or this is a waste of time, acknowledging these thoughts, and sending compassion to yourself and kindness as best as you can. Cultivating an inner best friend, giving ourselves permission to be where we are in each and every moment. Oftentimes the mind wants us to be in a different place than where we are now. Our minds are very evolved and we can time travel, which is amazing for planning, for reflecting on things, or creating things that have never existed before. But when it comes to then cultivating presence, this ability of the mind can often get in the way of that. Noticing any feelings of delight or curiosity or repulsion or perhaps neutral, a sense of neutrality towards whatever you're creating. And perhaps you find yourself quite in the flow, or maybe not, and that's okay too. Letting your experience be whatever it may be right now. And if there is resistance, what might that look like? Seeing if perhaps you could draw that. And if you notice yourself getting bored, perhaps, or thinking, when is this over? Or am I done? Noticing the boredom and seeing if you can let it be here. And what might the boredom say? Or what might it look like on paper? Would you like to draw it? Seeing if you can allow yourself to forget, not forget, but notice any expectations or notions about how you should draw something. And seeing if you can allow yourself to be a bit like a child, allowing yourself to do things the way you feel like doing them, rather than doing them the way you're expected to do them or have been taught how to do them. And knowing that the page is your safe place to do that, to let yourself play and explore. Letting your hand guide you towards the colors or pens. And if something doesn't make sense to you on a more mental level, seeing if you can allow the felt sense of something make more sense than the logical side of things. Perhaps if you've been using your hand to like a specific part of the hand, seeing if you could use a different part of the hand, like the fingertip, for example, and seeing what that is like for you. And as you look at it, what comes up for you? What's your immediate response to it? What's the first thought that comes to your mind? Perhaps a judgment, or a thought of surprise, such as, oh, I wasn't expecting that, or, oh, that's interesting, or, oh, I don't like that, or, yeah, just noticing what thoughts are present, and then what sensations are in your body. Is there perhaps a sense of openness to the drawing, a sense of contraction or repulsion or resistance, tension? What's in your body now? And where do you feel it? And are there any emotions or any feelings of yummy, or yuck? It can be a very slight kind of approaching feeling or avoiding feeling, or neutral, and seeing what that's like for you, knowing there is no right or wrong, just your experience. Perhaps there might be thoughts about, oh, I could do that more like this, or I could add this or that. And seeing if you can first allow it to be as it is right now. Perhaps appreciating it the way it is. Noticing any impulses to change or fix or improve or perfect. And knowing that those are all natural. And now as we come to the end, you might choose to continue the drawing or leave it as it is. And to end, we will perhaps place our hand on our heart and wish ourselves well as we look at the drawing, what we've created, what has come out of us. And we might say, may I be well. And you might say to yourself, may I be well, out loud or to yourself. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. May I come to love and accept all that I am, even my mistakes. May I live with ease, and may I know joy. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. It was a bit different than usual, and I'd be curious to know how you found it. If you'd like to share your experience or part of your experience, you can do so in the comments, and I'll be really happy to read and reply. If you feel like you'd like to journal about your experience or use any other form of creativity to express what that was like for you, do consider doing that. I wish you well. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be free from suffering. May you come to love and accept all that you are, even your mistakes. May you live with ease and may you know joy. Until next time, bye.